I see a lot of Indigenous creators out there who have a lot of talent, and I want these people to be empowered. And to them, I would say animation is a great way to get your message to many more people. So my name's Tony Thorne. I'm Trawulway from the northeast of Tasmania, grew up on the northwest. Was interested in comics, was interested in my family history, and I started doing a lot of indie comics and that kind of thing. So drawing to try and make a living, which I kind of did for about 10 years, and then I got into the first digital media course that AFTRS ran. So Little J and Big Cuz is a series for 4 to 6 year old Indigenous kids, but I mean, we have a more universal audience than that, I think. The writers just please themselves before anything else, and I think that's one of the secrets to making the show be as compelling as it is that they're just telling stories that have meaning to them. As a director in animation, that's a sort of unusual position because you can't be all things. So you can't draw every frame of every episode. You can't even storyboard every episode. But you do get to guide the process at the start of telling that visual part of the story, and you get to bring it all together at the end. So I've got 3 tips. They relate to putting animation together, although they could be applied to any type of filmmaking, but they're really about getting the foundations right. Get your story straight. It's very easy for animators to get carried away with elaborate, beautiful visuals or big explosions or really funky robots, but that's not a story. That's not what is going to make people sit there and stay with your film until the end. So that's really about spending a lot of time understanding your characters and their journey through a story. Follow the basic steps of outline, drafts, get other people to read your script and really understand where things might be confusing, where things might be difficult to stage. Try and nut out as many of those things as you can at that point, and it makes the whole process beyond that much easier. Spend the time to go from your storyboard into an animatic. So if there are things that you didn't catch in your script, little problems of logic, little problems of staging, you will catch them at that stage. Try in your animatic to really tell the whole story so that it makes sense to you, and really nut out how the action is going to be covered. This makes it very clear about resources. Do I need this background? Do I need to cover this angle? Whether it's CG, whether it's stop motion, whatever you're doing. Show your animatic to people. This is probably the hardest one to learn, particularly for animators. Show it to people and talk to them about it. Find out where those things didn't work. So one of the really fun things about working on Little J and Big Cuz that I did find quite difficult early on, because we have so many stakeholders involved who have a voice in how the show is made, was just dealing with all that feedback, often contradictory feedback. If you get feedback like that is contradictory, you know you're in the ballpark somewhere, and probably you just have to split the difference. You go in the middle somewhere. And there were certainly things where in the process of making Little J where I got criticism and I stood my ground. You have to have a really good reason to standing your ground. And often if you hear a voice a couple of times, or if you hear a note a couple of times, then there probably is a problem, and you have to try and take an objective view at that point. For us on Little J, 45 seconds of animation is a week's work for an animator. So we really want to avoid that. What we want to do is make a near frame perfect piece of animation. So that's what we aim to do. Please check out Little J and Big Cuz on NITV. We'd love to hear from you on Little J and Big Cuz if you're working and designing stuff. We'd love to have storyboarders who are Indigenous. We'd be very happy to hear from you.